Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. The cloudy sky pressed against the Boston skyline like a shadow looming over Nathan's mind. He took a deep breath, adjusted his tie, and looked at the towering glass edifice before him. Horizon Chemicals' annual gala is here tonight, and his wife, Elaine, who heads the company's marketing department, has long been there. Nathan is supposed to be home with their 9-year-old daughter, but neighbor Martha suddenly offers to help with babysitting. "You should go to your wife's important party," Martha counseled. "It's important to her career." Nathan hesitated. Over the past few months, he and Elaine have become estranged from each other. He blames it on his intense work at the construction company and Elaine's recent rapid promotion at Horizon. But his intuition told him that there was more to the problem than met the eye. "Sir, can I help you?" The doorman's voice brought Nathan back to reality. "I'm here for the Horizon Chemical party, Elaine Reynolds' husband." The doorman checked the guest list and frowned slightly. "I'm sorry, sir, I didn't see your name." "I came here on a whim," Nathan explained, "and it should have my wife's name on it." The doorman checks the list again, then nods. "Ms. Reynolds is indeed on the list. Please wait a moment, and I'll contact the event manager." A few minutes later, a young woman in uniform appeared and took Nathan into the elevator. As they ascended to the top, Nathan felt a sense of unease churning in his stomach. In recent weeks, Elaine's behavior has become unusual: frequent overtime, mysterious phone calls, and secret meetings she refuses to talk about. "Right this way, Mr. Reynolds." The woman pointed to a door at the end of the hall and then quickly left. In the ballroom, the light from the crystal chandeliers spilled over the crowd in formal attire. Nathan searched the crowd for Elaine's familiar figure. The air smelled of champagne and expensive perfume. He made his way through the talking and laughing crowd, his heart racing with every step. "Nathan," a voice came from behind. He turned to see Elaine's co-worker, Patricia, with a surprised look on her face. "I didn't know you were coming tonight." "It was an impromptu decision," Nathan smiled. "Where's Elaine?" Patricia's face changed slightly. I think she's discussing something with Mr. Carson." She avoided Nathan's gaze. "The last time I saw them was in the conference room at the end of the hall." "Thanks," Nathan nodded, heading in the direction Patricia had pointed. Carson, the CEO of Horizon, is a well-known figure in the Boston business community. In his 50s, twice divorced, never hid his interest in younger women. Nathan remembers Elaine mentioning the man's support of her career, but she never described their relationship in detail. The hallway was dark and quiet, a stark contrast to the hustle and bustle of the ballroom. Nathan walks towards the end and sees a half-open door with whispers coming from inside. He slowed his pace, his heart thumping in his chest. Through the doorway, he sees an incomprehensible sight: Elaine sitting on the lap of a man who is none other than Carson. The two of them held up their glasses, Carson's hand on Elaine's waist in an uncomfortably intimate gesture. "So it's settled," Nathan heard Carson's voice. "The trip to Paris next week will be just you and me. Tell that boring husband you're going on a business trip." Elaine laughed softly, a seductiveness in her voice that Nathan had never heard before. "He's so busy he won't even notice I'm not there." A wave of vertigo hit Nathan, and his vision blurred for a moment. Years of physical labor on construction sites and amateur fight training had made his body react far faster than his brain. He pushed the door open so hard that it hit the wall with a loud thud. Elaine jumped in surprise, a smile frozen on her face. Carson calmly put his hand on Elaine's shoulder, his eyes looking haughtily at Nathan. "Your kids are home, and you're here cheating on them, dancing on your boss's lap." Nathan's voice echoed in the quiet room. Carson sneered. "Get out, punk. She needs a real man." Elaine stood up straight, a flicker of panic flashing across her face, but it was quickly replaced by indifference. "Security," she shouted. "Throw him out. Don't wait for me at home." It was then that Nathan noticed two tall security guards standing in the corner of the room. Before they could pounce, Nathan acted instinctively. Years of combat training weren't for naught. One turn, one precise elbow strike, and the first guard covered his nose in pain, blood pouring from his fingers. As the second guard rushes up, Nathan ducks low to avoid his punches and then lands an uppercut to the jaw. The guard stumbled back, knocking over a small table. The room was a mess. Carson hid behind Elaine, the arrogance on his face replaced by fear. Nathan turned to them, anger burning in his eyes. "Nathan, stop!" Elaine screamed. "Are you crazy?" Maybe, Nathan said calmly, his voice low and dangerous, but I'm going to make you pay. More security flooded into the room. Nathan knows he can't go up against an entire security team. He took a few steps back, took one last look at Elaine's pale face, then turned and sprinted across the hallway to the elevator. He heard shouts and footsteps behind him, but could no longer care. The elevator doors opened in front of him, and he rushed in, hitting the close button. As the elevator began to descend, Nathan finally had a chance to think about what had just happened. 12 years of marriage. A child. All the promises and vows. Everything shattered in an instant. The elevator reached the bottom floor, and Nathan walked quickly through the lobby. Outside, the rain had begun to fall. The cold rain hit him in the face, contrasting with his hot skin. He stood in the rain, letting anger and grief sweep through his body. A few minutes later, a cab pulled up in front of him. Nathan got into the car and gave the driver his home address. Bad night, huh? The driver looked at a soaked Nathan in the rearview mirror. Nathan didn't answer. His thoughts had flown to plans for revenge. Upon arriving home, he found Martha watching TV in the living room. She looked at a soaked Nathan in surprise. Oh my God, what happened? The party's over so early? Martha asked with concern. The party went on. Nathan forced himself to remain calm. But I had to leave early. Thanks for taking care of Lily. Martha nodded, noting Nathan's mood was off, but wisely didn't press the issue. Lily is asleep. Let me know anytime if you need my help. After dropping off Martha, Nathan goes upstairs to check on his daughter. Lily sleeps quietly, oblivious to the collapse of her parents' marriage. Nathan gently closed the door and walked into the bedroom. He turned on his computer and logged into the family's shared cloud storage. In Elaine's folder, he began to look for any information that might be useful. Emails, calendars, photos, anything that might prove her infidelity. The fire of vengeance burned in his heart, driving him to search every possible corner thoroughly. Hours of intensive searching later, he found far more evidence than expected. Not only are there explicit emails between Carson and Elaine, but there are also detailed records of secret dates, intimate photos, and videos stored in encrypted folders. Even more shocking, he found Elaine's detailed notes on how she hid the relationship, which included scornful references and taunts to Nathan. In an email to Carson, she even wrote, "He's too stupid to see it." We could go on like this for a long time. The betrayal had been going on for 6 months, and it was far deeper and more vicious than he had ever imagined. Nathan felt a wave of intense anger wash over his entire body, his hands trembling on the keyboard. "I'll make you pay for this," he whispered, "not a penny less." Nathan opened a bottle of whiskey, poured a glass, and took a drink. Alcohol burned his throat, but it didn't ease the pain in his heart. He needs a plan that will cost both Elaine and Carson. The next morning, Nathan woke up to the vibration of his cell phone. A dozen missed calls and texts, all from Elaine. The latest entry reads, "We need to talk. I'm on my way home." Nathan sat up, his head aching from his hangover. He looked at his watch, 7 in the morning. Lily should be up soon. He needed to stay calm in front of his daughter, at least for now. As he walked down the stairs, he heard the front door open. Elaine stood there, looking exhausted. Her makeup was disheveled, and she had obviously been up all night. "Nathan," she whispered, "we need to talk." "Yes, we need to," Nathan replied calmly, "but not now. Lily could wake up any minute, and I don't want her to see this." Elaine nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "I'm sorry you found it that way. I didn't mean to hurt you." Nathan felt a surge of anger come over him. "Not on purpose." He hissed, "You cheated on me behind my back for 6 months, planned to sneak off to Paris, and laughed in my face. And you call that not intentional?" Elaine is pale. How do you know it's 6 months?" "I read all your emails and messages," Nathan admitted. "And the moment you betrayed me, your right to privacy disappeared." Elaine's eyes started to tear up. "Our marriage has been in trouble for a long time, Nathan. You work all day, and we hardly communicate anymore. Carson made me feel valued and wanted. So it's my fault." Nathan sneered. "Because I work hard to support my family, you're entitled to fuck your boss?" "That's not true," Elaine protested. "It's complicated." "No, it's simple," Nathan interrupted her. "You chose betrayal. Now I have a choice to make, too." Lily's voice came from upstairs. "Mom? Dad?" Elaine quickly dried her tears. "We'll talk later," she whispered, for Lily's sake. A tense calm enveloped the family for the next few days. On the surface, Nathan and Elaine try to maintain a normal life for their daughter. But when Lily wasn't there, they barely talked. Nathan begins his plan. First, he hired an experienced divorce attorney, Jennifer White. During the initial meeting, Nathan showed all the evidence he had gathered. "These are very favorable to your case," Jennifer said after reviewing the documents, "especially considering the relationship between your wife and her boss. We can prove her misconduct, which will work in your favor on property division and custody issues." "I don't just want favorable divorce terms," Nathan said firmly. "I want both Elaine and Carson to pay the price." Jennifer watched him discreetly. "Revenge is a dangerous path, Mr. Reynolds. The legal system can give you justice, but if you want personal revenge—" "I understand where the line is," Nathan assured her, "and I won't do anything illegal. But I will use every legal means to make them regret their choices." Nathan then begins to execute the second step of his elaborate revenge plan. He contacted a couple of friends with deep connections at Horizon to fully probe the inner workings of the company. Through meticulous research, he discovered that Carson had recently been driving a major partnership with a major European client worth hundreds of millions of dollars, the largest deal in the company's history. Not only did Elaine play a key role in the program as a marketing executive, but her promotion and huge bonus depended entirely on the success of the program. The planned trip to Paris was ostensibly a business meeting, but in reality, it was a lavish private rendezvous on the public's dime. Then Nathan delves into Carson's past, like a seasoned detective. He hired a private investigator to help gather information, and through public records, testimonies from former employees, and internal company documents, he gradually pieced together Carson's shocking history. 2 marriages broke up because of his inappropriate relationships with subordinates. At least 4 former female employees considered filing sexual harassment lawsuits against him, but they were all settled by him with money and threats. And there was a well-known but unsaid pattern within the company. He specialized in promoting young, attractive women, giving them career opportunities, and then developing relationships with them. And once the relationships ended, these women were either forced to leave or transferred to marginal departments. There is a well-known but unspoken pattern within the company. He promotes attractive young women, gives them career opportunities, and then develops relationships with them, which either end with being forced to leave the company or with the women being moved to marginalized departments. Nathan also found evidence that Carson used company funds to purchase luxury items for himself and his lover, including several expensive pieces of jewelry for Elaine, which were recorded as marketing expenses. These revelations complete Nathan's plan for revenge. He wants to destroy not only their relationship, but their careers and social reputations once and for all. A week later, Nathan stumbles across a key character, Carson's ex-wife Victoria. This chance encounter takes place at a coffee shop, and when Nathan hears Carson's name mentioned at the next table, he can't help but listen. Victoria is talking to a friend about her bad marriage to Carson. "He'll never change," she said bitterly. "For him, power and sex are inseparable. I hear he's got his eye on another marketing executive in the company now." Nathan takes a deep breath and approaches their table. "Sorry to interrupt," he said calmly, "but I think we have something in common." Problem. After the initial shock, Victoria agrees to talk to Nathan. They exchanged contact information and agreed to talk more about it later. The meeting opened up new possibilities for Nathan's program. Meanwhile, the family situation continues to deteriorate. Elaine proposes a separation and Nathan agrees on the condition that Lily stays at home in his care for the time being. To Nathan's surprise, Elaine didn't object strongly. It seemed that her new relationship and upcoming trip to Paris took up all of her attention. One night, after Lily had gone to sleep, Nathan sat in his study, reviewing all the information he had gathered. The table was covered with printed emails, photos, and notes. His plan began to take shape. The ringing phone interrupted his thoughts. "It's Victoria. I have important information for you." Her voice was urgent and excited. "Something nasty about Carson that will absolutely and utterly destroy him." The next day, they met in a private room in a hidden restaurant. Victoria brought a thick folder labeled "Top Secret" on the cover. "These are the documents at the center of my divorce case," she said gravely, "including Carson's detailed financial records, private email exchanges, and some extremely uncomfortable details and evidence. I paid my lawyer a fortune to keep these. Nathan pored over the file, his expression growing colder with each page. The information, it's more valuable than I thought it would be. It's like a nuclear bomb. Victoria smiles with a vengeance. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. I fully support your plan, Nathan. Carson destroyed my life and hurt countless other women. It's time to make him pay for what he's done. The documents detail Carson's decade-long pattern of systemic misconduct, massive financial fraud, including the misappropriation of company funds to purchase mansions and yachts, multiple instances of workplace sexual harassment, with some victims being forced to sign non-disclosure agreements, and evidence that he created a complex system of utilizing company resources in the service of personal relationships, including the use of hundreds of thousands of dollars of Horizon funds for personal travel, jewelry, and other luxury items. Most shocking was a private note in which Carson detailed how he manipulated and controlled board members and systematically destroyed the careers of employees who tried to expose him. It was enough to cost him not only his job, but to face serious criminal charges, Victoria said coldly. At the time, I was threatened with the option of settling privately, but I've been waiting for the right moment to release this bombshell. Nathan took Victoria's hand, and the two exchanged a look full of silent understanding. Thank you. With this, I can not only make Carson pay, but I can completely destroy Elaine's life. They will soon realize how costly betrayal can be. As the date of the Paris trip approached, Nathan picked up the pace. He worked with attorney Jennifer to prepare a detailed set of divorce papers, including all the evidence of Elaine's infidelity. In the meantime, he has compiled information about Carson's misconduct and is prepared to use it at the appropriate time. The day before the Paris trip, Nathan invited several Horizon board members to lunch. Most of these people were old friends of Carson's, but they were businessmen first and foremost, concerned about the company's reputation and performance. Lunch went well, with Nathan carefully changing the subject to the company's management and ethical standards. As an outsider, he said cautiously, I think Horizon's corporate culture is one of your greatest assets. Certainly, any behavior that might undermine that culture should be taken seriously. The directors nodded in agreement, not realizing Nathan's true intentions. Back at home, Nathan finds Elaine packing. She looked a little uneasy at the sight of him. Leaving tomorrow? Nathan asked calmly. Elaine nodded. Yes, business travel. I'll be back in a week, and we can discuss our future. Nathan just nodded and didn't expose her lies. Have a nice trip. When Elaine left the room, Nathan pulled out his cell phone and sent a pre-prepared message. The program has begun. The next morning, when Elaine left home for the airport, Nathan made sure Lily was dropped off at Martha's. Then he began to execute the final phase of the plan. First, he sent evidence of Carson's misconduct to Horizon's board of directors and several key shareholders via anonymous email. At the same time, he contacted a local business news outlet with a tip about a possible executive scandal. He then traveled in person to Horizon's headquarters and requested a meeting with human resources. In a small conference room, he presented evidence of Elaine's relationship with Carson and Carson's past pattern of inappropriate behavior. I'm not here to threaten or demand anything, Nathan explained calmly. Just to make sure this behavior doesn't hurt anyone else. As a soon-to-be divorced husband, I think the company should know these things. The HR director's face turned pale and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Mr. Reynolds, these allegations are extremely serious. Geez, it never occurred to me that. I assure you that we will immediately initiate the highest level of investigative procedures. Nathan calmly added, I also sent this information anonymously to the full board and several major shareholders. I wouldn't rule out contacting law enforcement and the media if the company tries to cover this up. The HR director looked panicked. Totally understand, Mr. Reynolds. The board has just called an emergency meeting, and this matter will be taken most seriously. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Atlantic, Elaine and Carson have just arrived in Paris. They celebrated their perfect escape by checking into the presidential suite of a top 5-star hotel. As they celebrated their new beginning with a lavish dinner at a 3-star Michelin restaurant, Carson's cell phone suddenly kept ringing with at least 10 urgent messages. What's wrong? Elaine asked, watching Carson's face go from smug to horrified. The board has called for an immediate emergency video conference, Carson said, his voice quivering as sweat slid down his forehead. Something's gone terribly wrong. Someone sent a letter to the board of directors and all major shareholders about our details. They hurried back to their hotel suite, where Carson immediately joined a video conference. The meeting had just begun when Elaine heard the angry voice of the board president come through the speakers. Carson, this is the worst betrayal of the company. All allegations are supported by corroborating evidence. Your behavior is simply disgusting. Elaine checks her email in a panic and realizes that her inbox has been flooded with dozens of urgent messages from every department in the company. Inquiries were sent from the legal department, human resources, the CFO, and even her subordinates. Suddenly, she noticed a message from Nathan. I hope the trip to Paris was enjoyable. By now, the entire Horizon Corporation, all major media outlets and business circles know your little secret, including how you embezzled company funds and betrayed me and Lily. The divorce papers are ready, and my attorney will deliver the summons to you in front of the press when you return home. Enjoy your last moments of luxury, for this is the last time you will experience it in your lifetime. Elaine felt a wave of dizziness. On the other side of the room, Carson is arguing vehemently, his voice getting louder and louder. This is a misunderstanding. It's a complete false accusation. After the video conference, Carson turned to Elaine with anger on his face. Your husband did it, didn't he? He told the board all about it. Elaine was speechless. Her cell phone rang again, a call from Human Resources. When she answered, she learned the worst. Ms. Reynolds, we need you to end your business trip immediately and return to Boston to be investigated. All of the allegations related to Mr. Carson are too serious for the company to ignore. Meanwhile, in Boston, Nathan is finalizing divorce papers with Jennifer's attorney. All the evidence has been compiled, Jennifer confirmed. And given the circumstances, we have a good chance of a favorable outcome. Regarding custody, given your wife's behavior and impending career crisis, the judge will likely be biased in your favor. Nathan nodded. I don't want to take away Lily's mother, but I want to make sure she has a stable environment to grow up in. Later that night, Nathan received a text from Victoria. Read today's business news? Your plan is starting to show. Nathan opens the news site and sees a striking headline. Horizon Chemical Executives shares plummet on allegations of misconduct. The article does not contain specific names, but explicitly mentions inappropriate relationships between senior management and subordinates and possible financial irregularities. The next morning, Elaine returned to Boston surprisingly early. Nathan was in the kitchen preparing breakfast, and he barely looked up when she wearily walked through the door. What are you doing? Elaine asked, shock and anger in her voice. I'm taking back my honor, Nathan replied calmly, while making sure you and your lover pay for the betrayal. You ruined my career. Elaine was practically screaming. The board suspended me, and the whole company is talking about it. Do you know what that means to me? Nathan looked at her calmly. You ruined our marriage, Elaine. You ruined our family. What do you think that means to me? Elaine crumpled into a chair as tears began to stream down her face. I made a terrible mistake, Nathan. I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did hurt me, Nathan replied. And now you must face the consequences. The divorce papers are ready, and my attorney will contact you tomorrow. What about Lily? Elaine asked, her voice breaking. I'll fight for primary custody, Nathan said firmly, but I won't stop you from seeing her. She still needs her mother, no matter what mistakes you make. Just then, Nathan's cell phone rang. It's Jennifer. Mr. Reynolds, she sounded excited. I've just received word that Carson has been suspended by the board of directors and is under internal investigation. It's very good for our case. Nathan ended the call and saw Elaine staring at him with a mixture of fear and awe in her eyes. You planned this, she whispered, from the beginning. Nathan didn't answer directly. I'm just making sure the truth comes out, he said calmly. The rest is a consequence of your own behavior. Over the next few weeks, things moved as quickly as Nathan had planned. Carson faced a tough investigation from the board, with multiple allegations of misconduct being substantiated. The investigation also uncovered records of Carson's use of company funds to purchase luxury items for Elaine, which completely destroyed her image in the company and in social circles. The media went into a frenzy about this dual business and emotional scandal. with Elaine's name and photo appearing frequently on major news websites, described as a co-conspirator in the fraudulent scheme to aid Carson. Ultimately, Carson was not only forced to resign, but also faced a criminal investigation. Horizon's stock price has plummeted as a result. Hundreds of employees' jobs are in jeopardy, and everyone knows who's involved. Elaine became the target of everyone's scorn in the company and received countless anger-filled messages and emails every day. During the divorce proceedings, Nathan's lawyers relentlessly presented the full extent of Elaine's infidelity, including intimate photos and explicit conversations between her and Carson. The court, taking into account Elaine's infidelity, career uncertainty, and deteriorating social reputation, not only awarded Nathan primary custody of Lily and the family home, but also required Elaine to pay substantial alimony. Elaine is allowed limited visitation with Lily, but everything she was once proud of, her career, her marriage, her social status, and the stability of her family life, is gone. A month later, Nathan receives a letter from Victoria containing a newspaper clipping. The headline reads, "Former Horizon CEO faces criminal investigation for financial fraud." The accompanying note reads, "Justice has finally arrived. Thank you for being brave enough to come forward." That night, Lily had gone to sleep and Nathan sat in a chair in the backyard, staring at the stars. The sweetness of revenge has begun to fade, replaced by thoughts of the future. He doesn't regret his actions. Both Elaine and Carson deserve to pay for their choices. But for now, he needs to focus on rebuilding and making a new start for himself and his daughter. The vibration of his cell phone interrupted his thoughts. It was a text message from an unknown number. "Know what you're going through right now. If you need to chat, feel free to reach out. Rebecca." Nathan recognized it as the name of a single mother at Lily's school, and they'd had brief exchanges at a couple of parent-teacher conferences. Nathan stared at the text for a long time before deciding to reply. "Thanks for asking. Maybe coffee some other time." He pressed send and felt a peace that had been missing for a long time. The chapter of revenge is over, and it's time to turn over a new leaf. But he will never forget the lesson. Betrayal must be paid for, and true justice will eventually come. Boston in the fall is shrouded in golden sunlight, and maple leaves dance in the breeze. Nathan stood outside Lily's elementary school door, waiting for the school bell to ring. 3 months on, his life has found a new rhythm. Taking Lily to school in the morning, working during the day, cooking together, and helping her with her homework in the evening, and park and movie time on the weekends. The divorce has been finalized, although the process did not go well. Carson's career and reputation are completely ruined. Not only did he lose his position at Horizon, but he also faces multiple charges, including misappropriation of company funds and workplace sexual harassment. Years of misbehavior have finally been punished. Elaine, on the other hand, has avoided legal action, but her career has taken a serious hit. After months of unemployment, she eventually landed a general position at a small advertising agency that paid a fraction of what she was making at Horizon. The school bell rings and the kids pour out the door. Nathan saw Lily walk out with a big smile on her face. Seeing her father, she ran and jumped into his arms. "Dad, we did super cool science experiments today." She was excited to share about school activities. "Sounds great, little princess," Nathan said with a smile. "You can tell me all the details tonight. Now, ready to go to Mommy's?" Lily's smile dimmed slightly. "I guess so. But Mom's new apartment doesn't have my big bed or a garden." "Changes in life are sometimes hard to adjust to," Nathan says calmly. "But it's a result of Mom's own choices. Remember, you'll be home Sunday night." They drive to Elaine's new apartment in a rundown neighborhood on the far edge of the city, a stark contrast to the luxurious life she once enjoyed. The elevators in this aging apartment building were frequently out of order, and the hallways smelled musty. When Nathan knocked on the door, Elaine opened it to greet them, looking haggard, with noticeable dark circles under her eyes and her once shiny blonde hair now dull. "Lily." She tried to hug her daughter warmly before nodding to Nathan. "Thank you for sending her." Nathan gave her a cold, dismissive look. For 3 months, their interactions were limited to the bare minimum of Lily-related communication, and he made sure that each interaction made Elaine feel the consequences of her actions. "I'll pick her up at 6 o'clock Sunday night," he said, "and let me know in advance if there are any changes." As he was about to leave, Elaine whispered, "Nathan, wait." Can we talk? Just a few minutes. Though surprised, Nathan agreed. Lily has run into her room to watch TV. What's wrong? He asked calmly. Elaine took a deep breath. I heard Horizon officially fired Carson last week. The investigation uncovered more problems than expected. He could face jail time. Nathan nodded. Justice has finally arrived. I owe you an apology. Elaine continued, her voice trembling, for my unforgivable behavior. I was blinded by the promise of power and success and hurt the people who loved me most. Nathan looked at the woman in front of him who had once been his wife. Her aura is gone, revealing vulnerability and remorse. In a way, it was exactly what he had hoped for when he had planned his revenge. But now, instead of contentment, he felt a complicated peace. Your apology means nothing, he said coldly. You ruined everything, and now you're just regretting your situation. You never considered my feelings or Lily's. Elaine lowered her head, tears slipping down her face. I know. I don't expect your forgiveness. Good, because you'll never get it, Nathan said sharply. And the price of your betrayal is to lose everything we ever had forever. This is a consequence of your own choices. Leaving Elaine's apartment, Nathan felt an aching sense of satisfaction. His plan for revenge was complete, and those who had hurt him got what they deserved. He felt a dark satisfaction within him at seeing the once high and mighty Elaine and Carson in their miserable condition today. The sweetness of vengeance was stronger than he could have imagined. On the way home, Nathan's cell phone rang. It's Rebecca, the single mom from Lily's school. Over the past few weeks, they've occasionally had coffee together and shared their experiences as single parents. Hi, Nathan. Her voice was warm and friendly. Just wanted to make sure we still have an appointment to take the kids to the museum tomorrow? Of course, Nathan replied, feeling a twinge of relief. Lily's been looking forward to this all week. Great. By the way, I hear you like Italian food. There's a nice little restaurant near the museum. Maybe we could go there for dinner after the tour. Nathan hesitated. Since the divorce, he's been so focused on his work and taking care of Lily that he's given little thought to his personal life. But perhaps it's time to move forward. Sounds good, he eventually replied. I'm looking forward to it. Hanging up the phone, Nathan continued to drive home, his mind racing. The past few months have been a storm of emotions, from the shock of discovering the betrayal, to the calculated revenge, to the ultimate relief. Now he stood on the threshold of a new life, unsure of the path ahead, but at least knowing that he had come out of the darkness. Meanwhile, across town, Carson is facing the toughest time of his life. What was once a CEO, a shining star in the business world, is now the subject of investigation and ridicule. His finances are frozen, his reputation is tarnished, and his future is bleak. In the corner of a private club, Carson drinks alone and tries to escape reality. A familiar figure approaches his table. Look who it is, Victoria sneered. The great Carson, now so down and out. Carson looked up, his eyes vacant. Come to see me laugh. No, Victoria shook her head. Come to see justice done. You've hurt too many people over the years, including me. Now, it's time to pay the price. You worked with that husband, didn't you? Carson said bitterly. You guys planned this. Victoria just smiled slightly. I'm just offering the truth. Your own behavior is the real culprit. She turns away, leaving Carson alone to wallow in self-pity. The weekend passes, and Nathan goes to pick up Lily and bring her home. Surprisingly, Elaine seems calm and accepting of reality. She had a great weekend. Elaine told Nathan, we watched movies and baked cookies. I'm glad, Nathan says sincerely, that it's important for her to maintain some stability and happiness. Elaine hesitated, then said, I applied for a job in another city. If it works out, I'll move. Of course, I'll arrange a visit with Lily. The news came as a surprise to Nathan. Are you sure this is what you want? I need to start over, Elaine confessed. Everything here is a painful reminder. A new city, a new job, might help me rebuild my life. Nathan nodded, understanding her decision. In a way, he also wants Elaine to find peace, even after all this. Good luck, he said sincerely. And whatever happens, we'll make sure Lily gets the best care possible. Over the next few months, life gradually stabilized. Elaine did move to another city, but came back periodically to visit Lily. Nathan and Rebecca's friendship deepens, and they begin to show up at school events together more often. One evening, Nathan received an unexpected email. It was an invitation from the current CEO of Horizon to meet with him. The next day, in a quiet cafe, Nathan meets Sarah Matthews, Horizon's new CEO. "Thank you for taking the time to meet, Mr. Reynolds," Sarah said as she got right to the point. "I wanted to personally thank you for helping the firm expose Carson's misconduct." Nathan looked at her in surprise. "I'm not sure what you're talking about." Sarah smiled. "We all know who provided the key evidence. The board has been looking for an opportunity to get rid of Carson. His management style is outdated and increasingly toxic. Your actions have accelerated the process." "I just wanted justice," Nathan admits. "I didn't think it would lead to such a big change." "Sometimes justice and change go hand in hand," says Sarah, "and the company is now on a healthier path. By the way, we are looking for architectural consultants to work on the new headquarters project. Considering your background, I was wondering if you'd be interested." Nathan considered the unexpected offer. "I'm interested, but need to make sure that work hours can be coordinated with my responsibilities of caring for my daughter." "Of course," Sarah nodded. "We can arrange flexible working conditions." Leaving the cafe, Nathan felt a marvelous twist of fate. He began his journey of vengeance to make those who hurt him pay, but now it brings unexpected opportunities. A few weeks later, Carson's trial began. This was widely reported in the media, detailing his years of misconduct and financial fraud. Nathan chose not to sit in, but followed the progress through the news. One afternoon, when he returned from a meeting at Horizon, he had accepted a consultant position. His phone received a message from Victoria. "The trial is over. Carson was sentenced to 5 years in prison and a large fine. Justice has finally arrived." Nathan looked at the message and felt a mixture of emotions come over him. His plan for revenge had been accomplished, even beyond his expectations. Carson would spend the next few years in prison, his wealth and reputation gone. Elaine loses her high-paying job and luxurious life and has to start from scratch. And Nathan, unexpectedly, finds new professional opportunities and possible personal happiness. Meanwhile, at the entrance to a state prison, Carson, dressed in an orange prison uniform, was guided into his new home. His once arrogant stance had been replaced by the decadence of defeat. "Carson," the warden called, "you have a visitor." In the visitor's area, Elaine sits at a table and waits nervously. When Carson walked in, she barely recognized the gaunt man. "Why did you come?" Carson asked indifferently, sitting across from her. "I need to end this," Elaine said calmly. "Our relationships have ruined my marriage, my family, my career. I came to say goodbye and to move on." Carson smiled painfully. "You have a future to look forward to." "And me?" He was released from prison after 5 years with nothing and a bad reputation. "We all pay a price for the choices we make," says Elaine. "But at least we can learn from." When Elaine leaves the prison, she feels a strange sense of relief. The pain and chaos of the past year is finally coming to an end. Back in Boston, Nathan and Lily are enjoying a weekend barbecue in their backyard. Rebecca and her son were there, and the four of them laughed like a little family. Nathan's cell phone rang with a message from Elaine. "Just met with Carson. It's finally time to let go of the past for good. Thank you for letting me see Lily, despite everything that's happened." Nathan looked at the message and then to Lily, who was playing in the grass. Despite the betrayal and pain, his daughter remains the most important person in his life. In a way, the storm had made him more aware of what really mattered. "Is everything okay?" Rebecca asked, noting his contemplation. Nathan smiled and nodded. "Yeah, everything's fine. The past is finally over." He looked at Rebecca's warm smile and realized that life had given him a second chance. The road to revenge had been filled with darkness and pain, but now he stood in the light, ready to begin a new chapter. 6 months later, Nathan is in his new office going over the drawings for Horizon's new headquarters. His career reached new heights as a key consultant on the project. A light knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. It was Sarah, now a respected colleague and friend. "There's good news for you," she smiled. "The board unanimously approved your final design. The new headquarters will be built according to your vision." Nathan nodded gratefully. "This is a team result. I couldn't have gotten this far without your trust." Sarah hesitated, then said, "You know, I've been meaning to ask you a question. Before all this started, when you found out about your wife's infidelity and decided to take action, did you foresee this outcome?" Did you ever think your revenge would end up making so many positive changes? Nathan thought for a moment, then answered honestly. In the beginning, all I wanted was justice, or rather, revenge. I want to make the people who hurt me pay. But now, I understand something more important. Life is not about revenge, it's about rebuilding. Sarah nodded understandingly. Sometimes breaking up the old order is a necessary step in building a better future. Later that evening, Nathan, Lily, Rebecca, and her son had dinner together. The laughter of the four filled the house, creating new and wonderful memories. After dinner, while the kids went to the movies, Nathan and Rebecca sat in rocking chairs in the backyard, enjoying a quiet evening. You know, Rebecca said softly, a year ago, I was worried you'd never get over that pain. I'm really happy to see you now. Nathan gave a small, contented smile. All this has taught me one thing. Never betray those who trust you, because the price of revenge is unbearable. It must feel good to see those who hurt you get what they deserve, Rebecca said, understanding shining in her eyes. I deserve this, Nathan said firmly, gazing into Rebecca's eyes. They tried to destroy my life, and I made sure they paid 100 times over. This is justice. Just as they were talking, Nathan's cell phone rang. It's a news alert. Former Horizon CEO critically injured in prison attack. Former company executive Elaine Reynolds blacklisted from industry. Career over for good. Nathan looked at the message, the corners of his mouth turning up slightly. He showed his cell phone screen to Rebecca. See, this is the ultimate price of betrayal. There was a sense of satisfaction and triumph in his voice. For him, it wasn't just revenge, it was a total destruction. He managed to destroy the entire lives of those who had tried to hurt him. In the poorest area of the city, Elaine sits at the window of her dilapidated apartment and looks out at the gray landscape. There were cracks in the windows and cold air kept seeping in, but she couldn't afford the repairs. Her new job is as a waitress in a small restaurant, which pays only enough to cover rent and basic living expenses. Whenever a guest recognizes her as the woman from the Horizon scandal, she has to endure their comments and ridicule. There was a picture of Lily on the table, and that was her only comfort. However, even the limited visitation time with her daughter is fraught with pain as Lily can't wait to get back to the warmth and comfort of Nathan's home. Last month, Lily even asked her, "Mommy, why did you cheat on Daddy? Is it because you don't love us?" That question pierced her heart like a knife. On his cell phone, the news alert flashed again. That Carson had been attacked in prison and was in critical condition. Elaine looked at the message and a wave of nausea washed over her. She staggered toward the bathroom and vomited again. Her doctor said it was a symptom of chronic anxiety and depression, but she couldn't afford psychotherapy. Carson and that disastrous relationship are in the past, but the nightmare will stay with her forever. Every day, she was paying a terrible price for her foolish choices, and that punishment would last the rest of her life. It has been said that revenge is a hunger that can never be quenched. But for Nathan, his journey of vengeance ultimately brings unexpected fulfillment not because he sees the pain of his enemies, but because he finds his own rebirth. At the end of this story, three men take very different paths. One succeeds in getting revenge and finding new possibilities. One suffers the cost of betrayal alone in desolation. And one pays a terrible price for his arrogance within the high walls of a prison. Their stories are stark proof of an unchanging truth. Betrayers will eventually face devastating consequences. For Nathan, the sweetness of revenge is lasting. He could feel a profound sense of satisfaction whenever he thought of every day and night Carson had spent in prison, of Elaine's despair at having lost everything. When he develops a relationship with Rebecca, he knows he has achieved an overwhelming victory. He has not only destroyed the life of his betrayer, he has managed to rebuild his own happiness. Carson spends every day in his cold cell regretting his choices, and his arrogance is rewarded with 5 years in prison and permanent social ostracism. Elaine, on the other hand, is alone in another city with bleak career prospects, broken social relationships, and even a permanently damaged relationship with her daughter. She suffers the painful consequences of her betrayal every day, and that guilt and regret will stay with her for the rest of her life. That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.